Welcome back to another session of
The Twinster Pod.
Thank you. We were just waiting for Lorraine to say it. Thank you very much. So dark in here. I'm so sorry it's dark. There we go. We are excited that you're here. This is episode 16 of the Twinster Pod. And it's a
Wow.
very special Twinster Pod because we're going to be talking all things Father's Day about our dad.
Father's Day.
Whoop, whoop. And we're recording it on Father's Day as well. So before we get started and before we officially wish all of the dads a happy Father's Day, we do need to sing our jingle.
Yes, it wouldn't be a Twinster Pod without that.
Not without that. So without further ado, here we go. Hi, I'm Amy.
And I'm Lorraine.
And this is the Twinster Pod. Jazz hands and scene. We are talking all things fathers, and our dad, Bob Horsley, is in heaven. He's been in heaven. This would be his 10th,
11th.
11th. Well,
Yeah. In July, it'll be 11 years.
Yeah. Okay. Father's Day in heaven. And so he was the Real King man. And so I wore the Real King shirt in his honor because he worked at Real King for how many years, Lorraine?
52, I think it was.
And he was
52.
known as the popcorn man because he was in the middle of the Real King store. He knew where everything was, and he always handed out popcorn.
Yep, they had a popcorn machine, and he was in charge of making sure that it was filled, and coffee. He made coffee and he made popcorn. And he was, if y'all wonder where we get it, I mean, he talked to everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody. I would go hang out there sometimes when I had some free hours, and I'm so glad I did that now because it was so fun to watch. There was chairs around where he sat, and at that point he would have to get on his scooter. He had a little scooter and ride around and show people where things were.
Yeah.
Because he'd had back surgery and he was in pain, but the old guys would come and sit and talk to him and tell stories, and it was amazing. You would hear, and so funny and so fun. And yeah, he just kept the popcorn and the coffee going, and uh the discussions, and just so much fun. I'm
Yeah.
so glad I did it.
A lot of good memories. A lot of
Yeah.
good memories. And so we just want to for sure wish all of the dads out there happy Father's Day, whether you're a stepdad, whether you have 10 kids, one kid, you're a dog dad, and all of the dads. So we just want to say happy Father's Day for
And if you're a single mom doing both of the roles,
that's
if
it.
you're being the dad too, happy Father's Day to you too, because you're filling both roles. So thank you
Pulling
to
double
all
duty.
of you.
That is right. Pulling double duty. And so we just want to wish everybody out there happy Father's Day. And because we're recording this on actual Father's Day 2025, we thought it would be a great thing to do, especially if you knew our dad, or even if you didn't, you're going to get a good kind of glimpse into who he was with a couple of the stories, or two or three stories that we're going to share about who he was. So I'm going to let Lorraine go first and share some of your memories of him. Let people know kind of who he was and some fun things. He was so fun. So let's let people know a little bit about our dad.
Well, one of the things that I remember when we were younger is so our whole family sings. And I can remember we were at the Christian church in Redmond for something. Do you remember that? We had been downstairs for something, and then we all wound up upstairs, and mom was playing the piano
Oh,
and dad was singing, and then we were all singing too. I can remember I think Aunt Kay and Lori and Diane and just a bunch of different people of our family were there, and dad always sang so loud. He was so happy to be praising God
wow.
and so loud. And I can remember singing, Daddy sang bass and Mama sang tenor. And remember that song? I can't remember the name of it. Something about Jesus going to the water. What's that song?
Hmm.
I'll have to think about it. But
Got it.
anyway, but another thing I remember is I traveled a lot with mom and dad, and in the later years when dad fell asleep once driving, and
Oh
so
gosh.
we didn't let him drive again on
Yeah, I don't
vacation.
know if I knew that.
Yeah. So we that was the end of his driving on vacation, long distance. And so I drove them most of all the places. And I mean, dad and I got along like oil and water. I was mouthy. I thought I knew everything.
Yeah.
And I look back at a lot of those things and I regret that. But one thing that I remember about him is he hated when the GPSs came out. Do you remember the ones that we did not on the cell phones? We used to
No.
print out the directions, and then
Mhm.
they had the little box GPSs that you could plug into your cigarette lighter. And he hated those things because he's like, I don't need that stupid thing. I know where I'm going.
Yeah.
And so if there was a lot of traffic somewhere, he would always take us on the back roads. And what does Perry call it?
The Horsley jog.
The Horsley jog. He would take us on the back roads and he'd say, if you're driving parallel to the road that you want to be on, you're eventually going to get to where you're going.
He's not
And
wrong.
so he's not wrong. And he also taught us to watch your signs.
Mhm.
Watch for an exit, or watch if there's gonna be a rest area, or watch north, south, east, west. Just watch your sign, then you'll know where you're going. Do that in the airport, do that out on the road. So I that's the one big thing I remember, like when we'd be out in the boonies. I mean, nowhere, like the GPS wouldn't even work out there, but
Yeah.
dad knew, like, we're parallels to that road, there's traffic not moving on that road, but we're still going on this road, and we're headed the right direction, and we did always get there.
I love that. Yeah, and that's really why we always take back roads. Always. I don't even
Yeah.
know the main road. I mean, I don't mind stoplights, but if I can avoid them, let's do that.
Yeah, I agree. Like, there's a back way from my school that I work at, and I love that. It
Mm.
takes a little bit longer to get home, but it's like countryside, and
Yeah.
I don't know, there's just something about not having to hustle through all the traffic and
Mhm.
seeing what's out there. It's beautiful. Yeah.
That's funny. You used to always go on vacations with mom and dad and
Yeah, and Matt,
Matt. Yep, that's our nephew.
and Christy would go sometimes, but then she didn't like me and dad getting into it all the time, so she was like, "I'm done."
Yes. Which
So she
honestly,
didn't go
I don't know.
anymore.
Every time I'd be like, why are you guys fighting? It was over stupid stuff. I'm like,
Yeah,
come on, you're raising your blood pressure and you're
I
bickering
was
with each
mouthy.
other. Yeah. But it's funny because you weren't really mouthy with anybody else, just him. And I don't know if
I
it's because
know.
you were so much alike that you fought with each other.
Yeah,
I never fought
probably.
with Brad like that. Like I was just like,
Yeah,
that's dumb. Why are you fighting?
I know. But we had some good times. So
Yeah.
going on vacations, and he loved Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. He loved the mountains, and yeah, it was fun. We took Matt lots of fun places, and
Oh,
um, we couldn't go very, very far once Dad got a little bit older, but he still loved to go, loved to
yeah.
travel. So good memories of that.
And along the same lines of like when we just started talking, when we opened up this podcast about him being the popcorn man, maybe you know this story, maybe you do not. But if you came to his visitation, then the backstory of having popcorn at his visitation is this. We were sitting down to plan his funeral with Scott, right? Was his name?
Yep, Scott Barrett. He worked at Templeton Funeral Home at the time. Yep.
So if you know Scott, such a nice guy,
Yeah,
great
he's awesome.
family, super nice guy. So he knew Dad very well. He knew our family. He knew him as the popcorn man. And so we were sitting there planning Dad's funeral, or I'm sorry, planning his visitation and funeral. And we brought up the fact of, Dad being the popcorn man. He was like, oh, yeah, he knew everybody. He goes, it'd be real cool to have popcorn and hand out bags of popcorn as people come in or people leave the visitation. And
Hmm.
of course, nobody's ever probably done that before. And it wouldn't make sense maybe for anybody else's visitation, unless you're actually known as the popcorn man.
Yeah.
It lined up perfectly, and we were like, we are doing that. Do you remember where we got the popcorn machine? Did we get it from Real King?
No, Scott somehow got
Okay.
one for us. He
Okay.
secured it for us and pops the popcorn and had bags of it out there, and it said, in honor of Bob Horsley, take a bag of popcorn.
Oh,
Yeah, it was
love it.
really cute. Yeah, it
It's
was a
just
great idea, and yeah, people were just like, "Oh, that's perfect," because
amazing.
that's what they knew and by.
And at his funeral, obviously Lorraine and I sang, and Jenny and Eric Hagen came and sang with us. Those are our good friends, and they sang at the graveside with us. We all sang "Amazing Grace" at the graveside.
And
And
my friend Monica was
yes,
up there with us too because
that's right. Monica sang with us as well
yeah,
because he loved music, and so
just
it
needed support. Yeah,
we had our support systems there with us, and then the song that like completely broke me, which I lost it. You know, you cry, but then you have that moment when you lose somebody that you love where you haven't
yeah,
cried and like grieved. um and that was at Dad's funeral during "Go Rest High on That Mountain." And like, even now, just kind of thinking about it, it like those words just hit me and hit my heart. And so you probably have the moment at the funeral where you have had a loved one, and whatever moment that is, someone speaking a word, a song that comes up, a moment, that you're just sitting there in silence and maybe it just hit you. But that was the moment. And we had a lot of music at Dad's funeral because
yeah.
he loved music. So we sang "When We All Get to Heaven," of course.
His favorite. Yep.
Everybody got to sing. I think we had the words for everybody, and everybody could sing along, right?
Yeah.
And "Go Rest High on That Mountain." Do you remember some of the other music that we had at his funeral? Was that the only two?
I'll
Or
fly away.
was it
Did
"I'll
we
Fly
do
Away
that?
Because He Lives"? I feel like we had that one in there somewhere.
Or Victory in Jesus.
"Victory in Jesus." So if
Something like that. Those were his favorite.
you're Southern gospel people, like all of those are the great ones,
Yeah.
are just so, not they're great for any service that you have, but especially at a funeral if you've grown up on that kind of music. And we love that kind of music. That's just what we come.
Yeah.
So the great fun memory is the popcorn at his visitation, and just honestly, how many people still came up to us years later and just said, that was a neat honor to your dad to do that because he was known as the popcorn man.
And there were so many people there. I mean, I had coworkers that came and they said they stood in line for 2.5 hours
Yeah.
at visitation. So that tells you how many people were there um, to just honor him and, come and support us. And we would travel. I think we've said this before in another podcast. We would travel anywhere, any other state, and he would run into somebody that he knew
Yeah.
from Rural King, usually,
They usually
that
real.
they would know Bob Horsley.
Yeah.
So
He was fun and
he
exuberant
was.
and joyful, and his laugh, you'd hear him laugh, you'd hear him sing, like Lorraine said, you'd know he was singing, he was laughing, and everybody knew him.
Yeah.
One final funny story, and then we'll go on to our memes and then end the podcast was, y'all, when we came home on the bus one time and
Oh,
we were in our old house,
yeah.
door was a glass door, and Dad was waiting on us to get there. Well, he was
Yeah.
standing there, bigger than do, in his underbritches only, just
Yes.
standing there as all of our friends are gathered on the bus.
And it's dark outside because it's after volleyball practice. So it's dark outside and the lights on in the house. And dad's sitting there with the light
He's almost
illuminating
like
him
backlit, he's
in his
backlit
underwear.
in his underwear.
Yeah.
So he did
Just
not
going,
care. He was like, "Welcome home." And we were like mortified. But we were like, that's our dad. So, years later,
yes.
I'm sure we're mortified at the time. And then now we look back and we're like, we love him. That's just dad.
Oh, that was
Just like, he didn't know. Yeah,
he knew, just that's the way he was.
where he was. So he's welcoming us home. So he probably thought
Yeah.
there was something at the bottom you couldn't see, but he didn't care. So, anyways, that was Bob Horsley, and he was a hoot. And that is number one. We had the best parents ever. Our mom's hilarious,
Yeah.
our dad's hilarious. And so you equal two twins and another sister. We're all hilarious, to each
We're the
other.
funniest people we know.
We really are. We really are. So, with that said, we have some funny memes for you. So, Lorraine, I'm going to let you go first. You said you brought one
Yep.
funny meme to the.
I just have one for today. And if you're friends with me on Facebook, you might have seen this, but this is so funny that I want to read it again in case you missed it. But I just found out that it's up to your family whether a woman is buried with a bra on or not. Let me be crystal clear. If y'all bury me in a bra, I will haunt every single one of you for eternity.
Yes. Why would you need a bra?
And then Perry commented, duct tape,
Duct tape. Yeah. Hey,
whatever
whatever
it
you're
takes,
gonna
Perry.
duct tape them, but no bra. Because yeah, exactly. They're not fun to wear anyways, let alone for eternity. So yeah,
Wow.
that's facts. Okay, here we go. I have several because just couldn't pick one. Good morning to everyone except those people who package the icing for cinnamon rolls because ain't no way you really thought that was enough icing for all them rolls.
Amen to that.
Little teeny package.
Stingies.
Yes. Stingy stinge. This one's so true. Lorraine will probably get it. Can I get an amen if you think this is true? I don't know
Okay.
why being naked with your shoes on feels more naked than being completely naked.
Feels more naked?
Like if you have your shoes on and you're naked, it feels more naked than just being naked.
Hmm. I
So
like to keep my shoes on.
try it this evening and you'll feel more naked if you just got your shoes on and you're naked than if you're completely naked with no shoes on.
Okay, I'll try.
Try it and report back.
There's your homework.
There's homework. That's everyone's homework. Report back. The Twinster Pod.
Oh, Lord.
All right. Me to my kids. We don't lie. Also me. I just called the park and it's closed today.
Yeah.
Y'all
There's a
know,
lot of people that can relate to that.
everybody's out there going, amen, I've done that. And because I love tattoos. Here, you can't see it. That one says, it's hard to hold my arm up. Hang on. There we go. Faith, hope, and
Jeez.
love. And this one says walking each other home. That one I got in honor of my mom and dad. And then the cross. And then my next one's going to be right here. So, in honor of me talking about tattoos, my tattoo money keeps going towards stupid stuff like priorities, and I just don't like it.
So true.
Lorraine, how many tattoos do you have?
0, but I have some planned. I just don't have any.
Okay, that's brand new information.
Well, so listen, Tim and I walked into a place to get tattoos in Pflugerville when we lived there, and we had the money and everything, but the guy was booked out like 5 months.
Yes, they're busy. And
We didn't know that.
yeah, they're always busy. Yeah. So I've got my
So there
next
you go. So I don't have any yet.
be this big. I'm going to go by myself because if I take Perry, he'll be like, make it this little. And it's going to be from here all the way to here.
So mine could probably never be big like that, but I want a cross and then probably a little dog paw somewhere. Yeah, that one's pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah,
See, that one's walking each other home. Come on. It's
I
so
know that's pretty. That is pretty. I might get that one somewhere smaller.
yes.
I like that one.
It's
Mhm.
just it speaks to me.
Yeah, I do like that one.
Them, you're weird. Me, thank you for being understanding. That's for sure.
No kidding.
That is us. So that's why I brought several because Lorraine said she had one, and I'm like, no problem. I've got enough for both.
She got my back.
So with that said, we really do hope you guys all had a great Father's Day, no matter when you're seeing this, whether it's Father's Day or beyond. And we want to thank you for being here with us. We appreciate you, and we hope we did make you laugh. Lorraine, do you have any final words before we go?
Just happy Father's Day to Tim and to our son Tristan and to our dad in heaven. He was a good dad. I gave him a hard time, but he stayed. I mean, he was good to our mom.
Yeah.
He loved her, and we really, really, really were blessed to have the parents that we have.
Yep. And you guys have met our mom on a podcast a few podcasts ago. This is podcast 16. And remember, we have something fun planned for podcast 20. We are 20th podcast soon. Crazy.
It
We're
is crazy.
so much fun with these, and we hope you guys are having fun. Send us ideas for themes. We've gotten several emails, so we've got some good things coming up, but our 20th podcast is going to be so fun. You're not going to want to miss it. So, with that said, we hope you have a great Father's Day, a great week, and we hope we made you smile. Bye.
Bye.